Hello and welcome to another episode of Fresh Talk. I'm your host, Eric Toll, and I'd like to thank all of our Roku viewers, our Justin.tv and MondoClub.com viewers for being with us today. We have a great show and a great guest. We have the wonderful Mike Hirschberg, who is a yoga teacher and is going to be giving us a little bit of insight on that today. And it's something that's very dear to me because I've actually used yoga a lot in my life, and today I really wanted to share that with you. So Mike, I'd like to thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been a yoga teacher for about 6 years. I've been practicing for 16. I used the practice to heal after 4 surgeries on my spine, which left me on disability. Since got back to work, and then from there became a teacher, studied at the Kripalu Institute for Holistic Health, and well, I was the director of yoga for the Gay and Lesbian Community Center for about 2 years. Wonderful time every Sunday. Got lots of really good students. A very good gig. And I've taught at many local studios around the city, and now I teach solely privately therapeutic-based yoga out of my home, and I also travel to others' homes too.
So I mean, I'm sure our audience is probably wondering, they hear yoga, and yoga is such a general term. It's just like saying music. Like there's so many genres, but there's so many different types of practices. Tell us a little bit about some of the practices that you've worked with and some of the differences.
Okay, well, I basically started with Iyengar yoga, which is the use of many props, very strict alignment, and you hold postures for movement. There's focusing on breath, and it's challenging in a very different way than what most people see yoga as today. Moving forward, I've practiced in the Vinyasa tradition, which is flow yoga, which is really popular right now. We have many studios in the Pittsburgh area, many really good teachers, and I taught that for a little while. I also have dealt with a practice called yin yoga, in which passive postures are held for upwards of 5 or 10 minutes in order to stretch the connective tissue of the body. Mm-hmm. So it's not so much an athletic deal as it is a preparation for some of those more athletic practices. So there's kind of a little bit out there for everybody. There's yoga that involves chanting. There's Catholic yoga now, which I know, right? They were like against it, like they really were, like they were like against it for a long time. And now we have Father Frank, who does the sun salutations with the Our Father. And I'm not Catholic, not really particularly religious, but hey, more power to you.
That's actually the first time I've ever heard of that.
I know, right?
I know, a lot of, it comes out of India and there's some religious background to it, but to see, like more modern American churches taking on that's definitely unique.
Yeah, and the thing that I like about that is that I feel that it opens up doors to acceptance of different cultures, the gay culture, breaking down race boundaries. I've also taught in drug rehabilitations, which was probably the most inspiring work that I've ever done, because they were battered women who had taken a wrong turn and were really very committed to turning their life around. Had to deal with quite a bit of frustration, and really my mom was actually in a situation like that when I was younger. So it was very inspirational to be able to do that for about 1.5 years.
That's really nice that you were able to do that. I mean, that's really helping people. I mean, it's not just your everyday, person just going to the gym to be in fit shape. Like they really need help, and you're helping them. I mean, that builds, mental focus. I mean, it helps them, feel confidence.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all equal. Just as much as the person going to the gym, making the effort, going to the studio, there really is no difference. No one is better than anybody else when it comes to this deal. I was part of Pittsburgh's first competitive yoga team. I competed in Philadelphia. It's kind of this new thing. It's controversial. They're trying to get it in the Olympics. I get so much flack for this. I'm probably going to get phone calls for even mentioning this. But it was the least competitive thing I think I've ever done in my life, and the most supportive thing I've ever done in my life. And during that time, I individually used that experience to raise over $1,000 for breast cancer and
Wow.
HIV awareness. And that's another thing I feel strongly about. I was my mom's yoga coach when she was going through chemotherapy, and I've also worked with patients with HIV. And it's not a cure-all, it's not a magic bullet, but it is very compatible with the treatments, and it helps people to get through that sort of
I
stuff.
think anything that helps them get through that. I mean, it helps build energy, especially if you're going through chemotherapy. I mean, one of the biggest things is lack of energy. And I know when I do my yoga practice, it's better than a cup of coffee to me. I mean, it gives me such a rush. You're putting more oxygen through your blood system. So somebody going through chemo, I mean, that's important. And it's good that you bring that up too, because today's 1st of October, and it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of people out there that who have relatives dealing with that, or themselves are dealing with it. This is something that you can look into, is definitely adding a meditative yoga practice and a rehabilitating yoga practice into your daily life to help with that process. And there are people like you who are out there really making a difference. They're not just teaching a class just for the general people. They're out there really trying to transform people's lives and help them get through a very tough time. And I applaud that.
Well, I appreciate that, but I feel like I've become a little more of an elitist because I kind of have a little more select clientele. I interview my clients to see exactly what they want out of their practice, because I get a lot of people that come to me. I'm not a personal trainer, and I don't masquerade as one, and I think that's very important to define exactly what you do. So through this brief interview process, which has nothing to do with body image, it has nothing to do with self-confidence, it just sort of has to do with making sure that they understand that any private work that is done with them would be more of a therapeutic, alignment-based educational process. Like I was telling you earlier, I make them bring notebooks, I make them take notes. I consider myself a teacher more than a fitness instructor. So.
No, that's good though, because I mean, with that kind of a process, they can take the notes, they can focus on what you're teaching, but after they leave you, if they want to look back on something and figure out something, they have to be able to reference something.
Right.
So that they can do it at home, do it on their own. I mean, because they're not always going to be able to be with you, but they may want to do that practice and the things that you're teaching, or work on that so that they're better and better each time and start improving on these things.
Yeah, well, it's something I picked up from one of my master teachers, Cora Wen. Very big inspiration to me. She's an offshoot of the Iyengar teachers. They're called the Iyengar Renegades. You can look that up. I urge you. Education's good. But I could call her like at any time, and she is world renowned. She studied with the Dalai Lama, and she'll call me every once in a while if she sees something I put up on Facebook, and she'll be like, okay, what the heck? Like, really? Really?
No, but it's good to have those connections. And I mean, and not everything is going to, a lot of people are like, how do you get into this? I mean, there's so many different practices. Definitely look, in your local listings for things and find ones that, would best fit you. And I mean, a lot of people, they come from different backgrounds, different lifestyles, and they can use this practice to help change, sometimes change for the better. I know you had mentioned to me that some people reference you as the Courtney Love of yoga.
Yeah.
And so why don't you elaborate as much as you'd like to the audience to get them to understand where you came from, where you're going, and how you did it.
Well, okay. So, a long time ago, when I started practicing yoga in that 16 years, I was also a singer in a blues band. And I was very much into a very different kind of music scene that was a rollover from the 90s. So there was a big party lifestyle surrounding that. I practiced regardless. Like I didn't really judge myself for what I was doing. I kind of let it run its course, and I have a mouth on me. Like so I'm sorry. Like just to jump ahead. I mean, some things I've seen yoga teachers say to students that have been detrimental. I basically call them out, and I don't do it in a, sort of kind of way. I just say, that's BS, and you really need to get back to your self-confidence. And it's a rarity that I do that because we have wonderful teachers in this city. Michael DeMio, as we talked about, Angela Diaz, Sarah Azarias, Rebecca Rankin, Zeb Homison. I mean, just names that if you do practice yoga and you're watching this show, you might know some of these. I mean, I know some of these people from...
Yeah, some of them are my personal friends as well.
Yeah, right. And then I know you, Cherie Dyer. I don't know if you ever took a class.
Yes, that's actually the first person I ever took a yoga class when I started the Bikram Hot Yoga.
Right, I came out of teacher training and right into competition training with her. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
She is intimidating. And you guys don't know who we're talking about, but this woman was, she's incredible.
No, I love her, and she's coming back to Pittsburgh. She's coach. That's what I call her. I'm like coach, She's in Amsterdam, and I learned so much from her. As I did from all my teachers. You can learn something from everyone, and I always tell people, like we were discussing before, in a class often taught by a single teacher, they can sort of get off track and sort of pontificate about emotional stuff, as I was saying. Like, you could be in a very difficult posture and you might hear something like, well, if you can't hold this without making a face, how are you going to get through life? And I say, it's okay to feel anything when you're in a yoga class. So if you're in that situation and your inclination is to be like, F you, well, then that's a good thing. You're letting it out. Now, if you get up and, punch him or her, then please don't call me. I did not advocate that.
No, you know what? I was doing yoga practice once, and the instructor that I did was actually at my fitness center, and she ended a class one time with saying, you have the right to be happy, and you have the right to be sad or angry. You should always feel what you feel when you feel it, and feel it fully.
Exactly.
But express it in a healthy way. And thinking about that, I was like, there's so many times where you're in traffic, you're mad, you cut somebody off, you flick them off or something like that, But then you're in a yoga class, and there are things that can be said to you, like maybe you're not doing something right, and some people are very sensitive. You have to take everything with a grain of salt and just kind of absorb it back into your practice. Say what you need to say, like, I don't appreciate that or whatever, and absorb it back into your practice and work on bettering yourself for yourself, not for that instructor. And if you feel that pressure by anybody, an instructor, like, a situation like that, there's a million yoga studios and instructors. Move on.
Yeah, and there's also, there are some very good DVDs that have come out too, so you can always check that out.
Well, we're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back, we are going to have some instructional demonstrations. So I'll see you back in a moment. Hold on a second. Oh, I came over onto this side.
Hold on.
All right, now we're kind of in our makeshift yoga studio today, and we're having our yoga instructor, Mike Hirschberg, prep, and he'll be over here in a minute to demonstrate some of the different practices and flows that you can do. And a lot of this is going to be more beginner style stuff, just to sort of give you an introduction to yoga, to inspire you to want to get involved in it. I mean, there's all stages from beginner to advanced. I've always considered myself the eternal beginner. I personally, have been practicing for quite some time, but still haven't really got to the crazy advanced stuff. So I'm trying to continue to advance my practice, but some people are a little bit more advanced than I am, and ain't no shame in that. So now we're going to have Mike come over here and demonstrate some of these poses for you. Mike?
All right, thanks. Okay, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. All right, so I figured that since it was the beginning of cold and flu season, I could set you guys up with a practice that is not only good for your joints, your posture, but also for your lymphatic system. So we're going to begin with mountain pose. Most people know this. A couple ways you can take this. Feet hip width apart or together. I prefer together, that way you can draw up the front thigh muscles, tuck the butt, tighten under, and then open up. Open up through the chest, lift, shoulders down the back. And then you breathe. Now, standing posture should always be the foundation of your practice. I advise, if you're going to go into a deep flow, take a couple standing postures first. Maybe triangle, tree, or Ardha Chandrasana, half moon, bringing the arms up. And you can bend here, if that's more comfortable for your shoulders, or you can straighten up. And then you'll come up and over to your right. Now, the idea is not to sort of like fall here, come down there. It's kind of up and over just to lengthen the spine, give a little space and blood to the internal organs, up and over. All right, now you come up through the center here, stretch up, and then arms come down. Take the feet apart, nice and wide. Arms down, reach through the fingers, level out the shoulders to the best of your ability, and then take your right foot, turn it out. Coming down into Virabhadrasana 2, or for those of us just feeling like speaking English, Warrior 2. The nice thing about this is it stretches everything from the midline of the body, compresses into the femoral artery, and it also gives space to lymph nodes underneath the arms. Now from here, you can come down to a side angle. So I don't knock my microphone over, I'm going to keep this nice and wide, and you might want to too. So the arm comes up and you look up, but then you can sort of bring the arm down, going over a little shelf we have on our shoulder called the acromion process. Stretch and look up. Come up through center, stretch it out, take it over to the other side. Come down, comfortable lunge, move the shoulders. Don't be afraid to move in your yoga postures. It's good to find that stillness, it's good to hold, but to make little micro movements, maybe just one shoulder up, and then come down, open up. Nice stretch of the heart, looking up, and if you ever have any problems with the neck, feel free to look down, feel free to look forward. You shouldn't feel any tension, compression, burning in the neck joints, and then up and over. Coming up, take the feet wide. Coming into Devyasana, or goddess pose. This is taken in some different variations. In the Kripalu tradition, which I am trained, it's kept very wide and open. So the arms come out, the tailbone tucks under, you pull the abdomen in, spin the pinkies in, look up, and breathe, and kind of squeeze every muscle you can get a hold of. Straightening up, little 5-pointed star action, stretch it open, and then bring the feet together. And then coming into Vrikshasana, or tree posture, you want to balance either your foot at the ankle, just above the knee, or up into your thigh. Resist with one foot into the leg, and then the thigh there. Kind of play with the spine a little bit. Raise the arms. Open the arms. And then come on down. All right, so triangle posture. Just demonstrate this on one side. You reach up, reach down and over the hips, go back as the shoulder reaches forward, right? Like, you know, you're going to get your drink at the bar. Give me it, please. No, okay, I'll give it to you. All right, and then you look up. Now, once again, if you're feeling that tension in the neck, just bring it down and look forward. And if the hand comes down to the ground, that's fine as well. And then come on up. Feet together. Come to the front of the mat. Our one good inversion, downward facing dog. We'll start it this way. Hands at heart center. Lift up. Back bend the spine. Inhale. Exhale. We'll take hands to heart center. Hold it down. Plant the hands and step it back and press up and sort of lift the tailbone up, releasing the head down. Now, something interesting, especially for beginners, bending into the knees and really lifting the tailbone up is very nice for the lower back. It compresses the lower back, and then when you come out of it, straighten it up, bring it on down, come into child's pose. Nice little Russian breath comes into the back muscles, everything comes down, everything comes relaxed. From there, now, coming into upward facing dog. You can kind of see how I'm sinking into this posture, lifting up and looking back. And then I always advise going back into child's pose, especially when you're beginning, because for every back bend, you want to take a forward bend to release the tension in the back. Getting a little bit more advanced, and you might want to try this one at a studio, but you know, it's fun. I like camel. Camel, Ustrasana, wonderful to stretch and open the pericardium, the connective tissue of the heart, open the rib cage, and then you can just go back to here. Any problems in the neck, bring the chin to the chest. And then if you feel comfortable through the lower back, you can reach back for a half version. This is very nice, and it also tones this little kind of waist area where we all kind of like to have this sculpted deal going on, if that is your thing. And then come on up. And then you reach back. You say, please, give me that drink already, right? No. You come up. Another good back bend is to bring your hands to your heart. Up. And just go back a little bit. And then you can come down. And then full camel. Lifting through the head. Hands come to the back. And then bring the spine up, tuck the tailbone gently. Come down to the knees. And just press yourself back into child's pose. Another good one to stretch the hips. Half pigeon. The thigh comes forward as far as it is comfortable. Try not to roll to one side or the other. Maybe the hips comes all the way down. And then maybe you go reach back, grab your foot, or not. Arm balances can be very fun. If you're going to start to work with them, I advise working with an advanced teacher. And then one foot, and then the other. Eventually, you'll get both feet off the ground, but take your time because the wrists are very delicate, and you will build strength in the bones, but it takes time. So, anyway, usually ending the practice, stretching out the hamstrings. It's very relaxing, very calm. This is one good way for a beginner. And then I like to take the arm up, reach around, and then come down. Coming back up, get over to the other side, reach, take it up, open the chest, bring it down.
Okay, okay.
All right, so I hope this inspires you to go out, find a teacher, find a book, find a video, find a mom, and look into yoga. And it's been a pleasure teaching you. I'm Mike Freshtalk, the Love of Yoga. Namaste.
Thanks, Mike. That was an amazing demonstration. I really hope that the show inspired you today to, find your own practice. Check out yoga and really get into it. I mean, it's a great thing. I mean, no matter what, if you just want to be a little bit healthier, just search out, all the things that you can find to better improve your life, bring in the health, and bring in the light. So I definitely want to thank Mike for being here today. And with all practices, when you end in yoga, no matter how you say it, respect to each other or respect the inner light. Namaste. Thank you for watching, and remember, stay fresh.